Hello, folks. Thank you for joining us. We're just going to give everyone a few more minutes to log in, and we'll get started soon. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Catherine Mandalakis, and I'm the Assistant Director of the Fordham Fund for Family Giving and Engagement. Thank you for being here for our next virtual chat with Study Abroad, this one focusing on Gabelli Global Programs. I know we're all itching to get back to traveling when it's safe to do so, so I hope that today's session will help you to plan for the future. We do have quite a lot to cover in today's webinar, so before we get started, I want to introduce our stellar panel that you have in front of you. First up, we have Hanaa Fawzy, Assistant Dean of Assistant Dean of Global Initiatives and Partnerships in the Gabelli School of Business. Thank you for being here, Hanaa. Next, we have our amazing panel of students, Michaela McDonald, Grant Hastings, Alex Bettenhauser, Fiona Liu, and Morgan Menzzasama. Thank you all for being here and for telling us a bit about your own experiences with international opportunities. Last but definitely not least, I want to introduce Elizabeth Collins from the Office of International and Study Abroad Programs. Elizabeth is Fordham's advisor for both the Granada and London Study Abroad programs. Thank you all for being here. I'm really excited for today's program. And just some quick housekeeping items. Today's webinar will begin with a short presentation about the various international opportunities offered through the Gabelli School, followed by some stories by our students, and finally concluding with a Q&A portion. We will try to answer all pre-submitted questions during the presentation, but if you have any questions during today's webinar, please feel free to use the Q&A function located at the bottom of your Zoom screen. And with that, I will turn it over to Elizabeth for a quick note on study abroad, and then over to Hanaa to get us started.
Hi, everyone. So just a quick update regarding the ongoing COVID situation. Fordham is continuing to monitor conditions here and also at our overseas locations. If it is deemed unsafe abroad, the university may continue the suspension of study abroad programs. Should a program be canceled, we of course will return a student's application fee to them, and we'll also work with the student to either find an alternative study abroad location or continue their studies here in New York. And given the ongoing uncertainty and kind of the difficulty around planning international travel right now, the Study Abroad Office has altered our commitment policy. So typically we give students 2 weeks to commit to a program after they are accepted, and then they have to submit a $500 deposit within those 2 weeks. Given the ongoing uncertainty and just wanting to provide students with a little more flexibility, we've instated a flexible commitment policy. So students participating in the summer programs in London, Granada, or Rome have until March 3rd to decide if they would like to commit to studying abroad in the summer. If they decide anytime before on March 31st that they would like to withdraw, we will not charge them the $500 withdrawal fee. And then for students looking to go abroad in the fall, they have until May 1st to make that decision. And if they decide on or before May 1st that they would like to withdraw, they will not be charged that $500 withdrawal fee. And then finally, we've also created some virtual opportunities for students for this spring and potentially moving forward if the suspension of study abroad does continue. So we have 2 virtual internship programs. And then this spring, we are also offering some courses from the London Center. And a number of those courses still have room for enrollment. So anyone who's interested in that can just head to our study abroad website, and we have more information on those virtual courses for the spring.
Thanks, Elizabeth. And just as a note to all of you watching, I will follow up with an email including both the recording of today's session as well as pertinent dates that Elizabeth just mentioned and some more materials on these opportunities that we're about to hear about. Take it away, Hannah.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Elizabeth, for the introduction. It is a pleasure to be here and connect with all of you and to take your questions. We will be addressing them during our talk, and we'll also be happy to answer any remaining questions at the end of the session. Excuse me. With me today is a wonderful panel of our Gabelli students and alumni who will talk about each program and their own experiences. They will discuss why they chose a particular program and how it helped them achieve their academic and professional goals. During our talk, I will put some links to our Gabelli Global pages in the chat with additional information and my email, so please feel free to connect with me anytime after the session. Before I hand it off to our panel, let me give a general overview of our global business programs. There are several ways for our students to acquire a global business experience. We either bring the world to them here at Fordham, or we take them to the world. Especially during the last month and despite the travel bans during the pandemic, our students are still very much involved and engaged with our global communities. Many programs are offered to engage with international business here in New York. Throughout the year, we invite international business professionals from across the globe to connect with our students. For example, every March, we host the International Business Week, and this is a 5-day series of lectures and panels held by executives from across the world on the topic of global business. Our students have a chance to network with them and ask questions about relevant international business topics and challenges. This academic year, around 300 Gabelli students signed up to be members of the IBA. The IBA is an international business association, which is a student club with a mission to embrace diversity, raise cultural awareness, and connect students with international business sectors, especially here in the New York area. This past year, we have also been offering online courses taught by our international faculty who are based at our London campus and other partner schools. Some of our students were able to complete even a virtual global internship. And of course, every class taught here in New York is global in nature. So we bring the world to Fordham, but we also take our students to the world through different business study abroad programs. Our global programs include long-term and short-term programs. The structure of each program differs with a certain academic, business, and educational global goals in mind. So the long-term programs are 1 or 2 semesters where our students complete a full schedule of courses, let's say 5 courses abroad. The semester programs could be spent either in London at our own Fordham campus, or students can choose from almost 50 different partner school programs in different countries that offer business programs. And the short-term programs are either summer courses, 4 weeks long, or a global immersion that's about 7 to 10 days abroad. Students complete 2 business courses or electives during a summer session. If they choose the global immersion program, they complete 1 course during the winter or spring break. Each program is structured differently to cater to the needs of each Gabelli student. Each program also offers a certain level of comfort. For example, many students choose our very popular Gabelli program in London for many reasons. Some of them are the program is offered at our Fordham campus in an English-speaking country with the same Fordham tuition and financial aid packages. London offers both semester and summer sessions. We ensure we streamline with our New York campus, so all the courses are available for each major. And London also provides an opportunity for our students to travel to other countries in Europe during the weekends. So some students choose London, and other students prefer to explore a totally different culture despite language barriers. For this reason, we always welcome our students to meet with me and their class deans to plan ahead and determine which program would be the best fit for the academic and career goals. Our students usually study abroad during their sophomore or junior year, but it is also possible for freshmen to study abroad during the summer after they finish their first year as a rising sophomore. However, the planning to study abroad starts very early as freshman year. We discuss with them which courses should they take here and which courses should they keep to take abroad and ensure they are on track for graduation. For example, an athlete may not be able to stay here in New York for a whole semester due to the daily practices, so a short summer program would be a better fit. Or a student with a finance major may choose a spring semester in London to be able to attend the recruitment cycle in New York during the fall. Some students may like to travel during the fall semester to gain international business experience through the Fordham Internship Program in London, and then intern again in New York during the spring semester. Other students prefer to complete their summer internships in New York, and therefore they choose the Global Immersion. The Global Immersion program is a unique course, basically a 3-credit-hour course that has a travel component during the winter or spring break. When we design the Global Immersion courses, we purposely include 3 important elements: academic rigor, cultural experience, and opportunities to connect with the corporate world within that region. It is taught and led by one of our Gabelli professors who have the local experience and corporate contacts within a certain region. For example, over the past few years, our students took accounting, management, marketing courses in places such as Singapore, Italy, Switzerland, Greece, Israel, and Japan. This has been a general overview, and I'm sure you will enjoy hearing from our students about their own experience. So let me turn it over to Morgan.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Morgan Menzzasama, and I participated in one of those short-term global immersion programs Hanaa was talking about. My particular program was to Zurich, Switzerland. My virtual background here is actually a photo I took on a hike in the Swiss Alps while I was there. A little bit about me: I graduated from the Gabelli School of Business in May of 2019 with an undergraduate degree in accounting, and in December 2019 with my master's in accounting. I'm currently working full-time in Deloitte's financial services audit practice, and I did the Global Immersion program in the spring of my sophomore year at Fordham. I've always loved traveling. However, I was a student athlete. I was on the track and field team, and it didn't allow me time to spend an entire semester abroad. So the Global Immersion program was a perfect opportunity for me to have that international experience while I was in college. The course I took was International Tax, and I took 6 classes at the Rose Hill campus, and our last class was the week spent in Zurich, Switzerland, meeting with C-suite professionals in all areas of business and experiencing Switzerland's unique culture. The application process for Global Immersion is a little bit different than semester abroad programs. It's completely designed and administered within the Gabelli School to ensure that the course is customized based on the different needs of your major or concentration, since it's aimed at one course instead of the 5 courses that a full semester abroad takes. There's also no application fee when you submit the application, and the cost of the programs vary. The Global Immersion class I took was organized by a tax professor I had had a few times while at Fordham, and a Fordham alum who was a tax partner at KPMG Switzerland. Just this alone showed me the strength of our alumni, and it exposed me to the international opportunities that working at a Big 4 accounting firm allows. So the Global Immersion program offers a mix of academic, cultural, corporate experiences. Some experiences that stood out to me in particular was, of course, this hike through the Swiss Alps.
I'm not sure I understand.
By the time we got up to the top, there was a restaurant. We ate dinner there, followed by a alpine horn performance. And then we also did a fox trail scavenger hunt with KPMG professionals throughout the city of Zurich, which was a great way to not only interact with those professionals, but as well as learn so much about the city. I had the opportunity to have a private breakfast with Beatriz Sanchez, who is the CEO of the Americas of Julius Baer. So it was awesome to see a woman executive working abroad. We took a 2-hour boat tour of the lake in the middle of Zurich. And something in particular that I've been thinking about a lot lately is we took a tour of Novartis's campus, which is a pharmaceutical company, and they've actually been working on a COVID vaccine. So it was kind of cool to think that I've been on the same campus that's driving the science and innovation coming out with the COVID-19 vaccine. And lastly, since Fordham is a Jesuit school, we took a really nice tour of a Jesuit church in Lucerne. And that was just an experience I don't think I would have had otherwise if I didn't do the trip with the Gabelli School. I also had the opportunity to meet a lot of United States citizens who took their careers abroad. They spoke about the challenges, but also the enormous growth opportunities this provides. And meeting those professionals really inspired me personally to take my career abroad. As I mentioned earlier, I'm working at Deloitte currently, which has offices around the world. And a few short weeks after I did my program in Switzerland, I started my internship at Deloitte and came to learn of their global deployment programs. My senior manager, who is also a Fordham alum, he works at Deloitte and worked 2 years in Scotland. Deloitte also has an international internship experience, and based on my resume and my previous travels, I was able to land the international internship and spent the summer of 2019 interning at Deloitte's Sydney, Australia office, which was an awesome experience. So if your student is a student athlete or involved in a lot of clubs or activities that make it difficult to spend an entire semester abroad, I highly recommend the Global Immersion programs. Although my time abroad was short, it was impactful, and it gave me the courage to pursue a career abroad, and it showed me that Fordham is truly a global community. Not only did I meet Fordham Rams in Switzerland, but I spoke with Fordham alumni while in Australia. And it was great to know that almost anywhere I go, there's a Ram willing to offer some guidance. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Alex.
Thanks, Morgan. Hi, everyone. My name is Alex, and I'm from Long Island, and I'm currently entering my last semester at Fordham, where I'm going to be graduating as a business admin major with dual concentrations in marketing and international business. And I also, like Morgan, did a short-term program, but mine was the Gabelli summer program, along with an internship during the summer of 2019. So the first thing I guess I want to talk about with everyone is the application process, because I saw a lot of questions in the prelims about this. So there's a few main parts, and basically what I had to do was upload a resume, and then there's a fee. And depending upon whether you're doing an early action or a standard application, it's either $50 for the early action, I believe $75 for the traditional one. Other preliminary info is your passport, some contact information, and then they'll ask about your student history, maybe if you have like behavioral issues, like if you had to get suspended or anything like that, which most Fordham students don't have to worry about. And then you'll talk about a statement of purpose and goals, which I really appreciated because it was trying to kind of pull me in as asking why this program, why London, how I think it'll help my career and academic goals moving forward. And other things they'll ask is basically what course I'm interested in taking. And if you're in Gabelli, Dean Fawzy already mentioned it, but if you're taking the summer program and you're a Gabelli student, you have to take 2 classes as opposed to Rose Hill where they only have to take 1. And then the last thing is you just need class approval from your student dean at the time. So usually it's people sophomores or junior class deans. So because I was in the internship program, there's an extra step as opposed to just doing all that stuff. And after you're accepted, you're put in contact with an EUSA representative. And basically, they're just an organization that helps students receive internship placements in London. And what you do is you fill out what they call a pilot process. So it stands for Personal Learning Objective Toolkit. And I found it really helpful because they didn't just use it to figure out what you're looking for, but what they did is they actually used it the entire time you were in London working, and you would almost fill it in like a daily log as to how your internship is aligning with what you thought you would get out of it in your pilot process questionnaire you filled out. And then after completing that, you have a meeting with a direct representative, and you get a contact who you maintain contact with through your entire time in the program. And basically, they'll be asking me what type of internship I want, the type of office that I'm looking to work in, whether I want a big office, a small office, a shared space, if I want to work in the city or like the outskirts of London. And then usually they'll come back with either, if you're lucky, they'll come back with one and you won't have to really worry much about that, or they'll come with 2 or 3 companies and say, which one are you most interested in after you do a little bit of research. After that, what they'll do is they'll personally set you up with an interview with the company that you're deciding to work with. So some people will do it virtually before they get into London. Some people like me actually go there your first couple days in London and visit the team, and then you kind of have a meeting one-on-one. And what's nice about it is it's more of an informal interview. So you're not really getting pressed with any hard questions. They're just trying to see, hey, we already want to take you. We're just interested to see what you're trying to get out of this. And that's really nice because interviewing is so stressful and it's such an awful experience having to wait and hear back from people. So basically it's just like you're already in, you just have to meet the team, which is really, really nice, especially your first few days in London. It's pretty overwhelming. So to be worrying about interviewing when you're there would be overkill for the stress levels. And what's nice is the internship doesn't start until July. So your first month is you're just taking classes. So for the summer program, you only take classes in the first month. And what you do is you take, for Gabelli, you'll take your 2 classes in 3-hour blocks 3 times a week for those 4 weeks. And it sounds like it's a lot of time stuck in the classroom, but it's really not that bad because the classwork isn't really that strenuous. The professors understand that you're learning a very, very condensed course in such a small amount of time. So they're more focused on giving you the big picture and trying to make sure you get the general idea of what you should be taking from this course rather than giving you a ton of work, which is really nice because to get 7 credits done in a month is a steal at Fordham. And another great thing is the professors that I had were from all over the world. I had a teacher that was from Germany, another one from Ireland, and the third one was from Turkey in the same semester while being taught in London. It's really almost as if Fordham brings the entire world to a classroom, and it's amazing. It's just an added bonus to be ahead of all these electives because getting taught by them is really once in a lifetime opportunity that I'm so glad I seized. And an added bonus is now I can take the additional elective courses that I wouldn't have had the chance to take hadn't I gotten the 7 credits out of the way early on. So what we do is it's really fun because it's so short, but you're always with the same group of people because it's so tight knit, which is great. And you're all in the same classes. It's not like when you're there an entire semester and everyone's taking 5 different classes. For the most part, you're taking the same classes with the same people. So it's a really good way to build some connections there, especially having all this opportunity to travel and see everyone. It's really nice. I had a lot of fun at my internship because that second month when it starts in July, you're not taking classes anymore. You'll periodically pop into the London Center just to talk with your professor who's hosting your internship placement program, which is 1 credit. And basically they're just there to meet you and be like, hey, how's it going? It's just a general update, but it's nice to have a Fordham representative do that in addition to the USA. And for the day in the life for me was I had worked on 3 clients when I was there. I was usually doing social media or promotional offers for a Lebanese restaurant, but I had a couple other jobs where I was helping develop a website for a bedding company. But the coolest company that I worked on, which I wish I got more time to work on, was called William and Edwards, and they make china and memorabilia. And what was really exciting was their main project at the time was creating fine china for the royal baby who had just been born. So it was really exciting because like we would be getting phone calls all day about like all these different companies trying to buy all this stuff and like all these events that we could go visit, like the Royal Ascot, and bring stuff there. So that was a really cool added bonus. Not everyone got to work with, you know, the Royals, unfortunately, but it was really fun to get that opportunity to do that. And working with people in London, while sometimes people would think it's mundane, it's not. It's really fun because after work, maybe a few times a week, like we'd go out to pubs and we'd hang out. And it was really fun to get to learn about the city from people that work there and that live there, because learning from locals is such an awesome opportunity. And then I guess just to sum it up, the benefits that I got afterwards was working in London was like easily the best decision that I ever made. And since I've been interviewed, every single time, that experience is the focal point of the discussion. And what's really fortunate for me is I've been interviewed 3 times since then, and twice it has actually been someone who lived in London. So it helped, total icebreaker. I mean, as soon as they started talking about living in London, I was like, job secured. It was awesome. And right now I'm working under a manager who also studied in London and worked in London, which is great because they give me updates as to what's going on in London now, and they always put me in contact with people. I've still maintained contact with all the people that I worked with in London, just to kind of learn what's going on, what's the deal, because I want to jump back into London as soon as I can. So it's really nice to stay updated and hear from people that are familiar faces that are still up to the, you know, 411 and what's going on out there. But it's just really cool to have gotten the opportunity to work in London at 20 years old and have that on your resume. I've received letters of recommendations from professors there, employers there. It was the best decision that I ever made, and it's really is the gift that keeps on giving. So with that being said, I'm going to be passing it off now, and thank you guys.
Thanks, Alex. So I'm going to be speaking next. I'm Michaela. A little bit of background. I'm originally from Boston, and I moved to New York for my undergrad, where I graduated this past May. And like Alex, I have a business admin degree in marketing and global business. I love my time at Fordham so much. I'm actually back now for an extra year in my master's, and I'll be receiving my media management master's this upcoming May, which is exciting. And during my time at Fordham, and even now, I've just been super involved on and off campus. Currently, I'm in charge of events for the Media and Entertainment Alliance at the grad school, while also being a peer advisor and interning at Warner Music Group. Undergrad, I also interned at various labels and related businesses, while serving as an orientation leader, a freshman advisor, global outreach leader, and of course, the focus of today, I was the president of the International Business Association, which helps out a lot with Dean Fawzy's International Business Week. And then I was also a member of the Integrated Learning Community for Global Business. And the arguably coolest and most memorable experience was my time at Fordham's Granada program, which I'll dive into the most. So I went to Granada my spring semester of junior year, and choosing a study abroad program is definitely different for everyone. So in my case, I knew I wanted to study abroad really early in my college career, so I was able to plan for that accordingly. And I knew that I was going to want a more culturally diverse and immersive program. So with that, money was also definitely a huge factor for me going abroad. So Fordham has really great Fordham programs, like the London campus. They have the Granada program, and they also have a program in Ubuntu Africa, which is more of a service-based learning program. And those 3 programs will take 100% of your scholarship money that you receive in New York and transfer it over to that program. So that was huge for me. And while I've heard great experiences from all of them, and I'm sure you'll hear a lot more about London, Granada just seemed to be the better fit for me with the experience that I was looking for. And so with Granada, I was set up with a host family, as it's 100% immersive. My host mom didn't speak any English, which was definitely a bit challenging when I first got there. And the goal of the program is to take all of your classes in Spanish. So you'll take a Spanish class and you'll also take all of your course classes in Spanish. But when you get there, you take a placement test. And my Spanish was definitely not as up to par, but that wasn't a case of worry because they're very flexible. The director of the program is a Fordham professor who used to do one half of the year teaching in New York, and then he would go to Granada with us, I think, since he's full-time in Granada now. But he was really great with working with me. I took his class before I went abroad, and we just came up with a game plan. CLM is our host university when we're there, and they're also really flexible. The professors are just so amazing there, where most of them are bilingual. So I had the opportunity to just add on an extra Spanish grammar class and take my major courses in English, which sounds like a lot, taking an extra class, but it definitely wasn't, because your classes are only Monday through Thursday, and you have like long weekend every week to catch up on schoolwork or travel, which is what I did a lot of the time. And since Granada is more of a liberal arts program, that's not to say that there weren't business courses. I was actually able to take a global marketing course, which double counted for my marketing and global business concentrations. I was also able to take a global econ class, which counted as a global business credit. And then I also, like I mentioned earlier, I planned for studying abroad way earlier in my Fordham career. So I was able to save my history credit, my fine arts credit. So that would be one piece of information that I recommend to everyone I talk to. I always say that you should really have a game plan as soon as your freshman year so that you don't take those liberal arts credits that are a lot easier to get abroad. And then also with Fordham Granada, there is the opportunity for internship programs. I had friends that interned 1 day a week. I did not test at a level where I could complete an internship, but there are various ones offered at NGOs and nonprofits. And everyone that took it had a really great experience where it helped them when they came back, they're now working in that field. And then one other note about my homestay, while it seems a bit intimidating, you're not placed alone with a host family. You get one other Fordham student with you, which is huge. You take this pretty extensive survey before you go, just asking about your living styles. It's a lot like the one you take freshman year for your random roommate. But they just, since the program is a lot smaller, they do a really great job making sure that you're put in your ideal comfort level, and your host family is very accommodating, where they'll cook to your food restrictions, and they're just very giving. They're always willing to help you. And Raphael, the program director, is always there to talk, and he has a great team of other professors that he keeps around him that kind of do check-ins throughout the semester with you to make sure everything is comfortable and you're doing okay. And another thing with Granada is that since it's a Fordham program, we have Fordham Trips. So we spent 4 days in Morocco with our program. We also took a road trip to Portugal where we stopped at other historic cities like Seville and Cordoba. Our program director also planned some beach trips for us, which were super fun. And since he was from Granada, he took us on walking tours our first week around the city where we got to hike up to the Alhambra. And we also went to local restaurants for a private flamenco show, which was definitely memorable. And just being in the Fordham Granada program, I was exposed to a lot of different people. I was exposed to people outside of the Gabelli School of Business that were also Fordham students who are actually some of my very best friends to this day. I still see them all the time in New York. But I also got to meet a lot of people at our host university. So I made friends with people who went to school in Illinois and Iowa and California, and we all kind of keep in touch on Instagram and all that stuff. So it was just a really great experience where I got to kind of branch out a little bit from the typical Gabelli experience and meet a lot of people. And I made so many friends and had so many unforgettable experiences, since it is easy to travel once you're there. And since my abroad experience was so great, I didn't want to lose that when I came back. So when I came back from Spain going into my senior year, I really dove headfirst into the International Business Association. This was a club I've been a part of since my freshman year, as it does fulfill a requirement for the global business concentration. As Dean Fawzy mentioned, it focuses a lot on global opportunities across industries. So during my time there, we had speakers ranging anywhere from the VP at IBM to global headhunters and sales associates at translation companies. We really just tried to focus on different industries because it was so influential to me starting out and picking what major I wanted to get, just hearing from all of these different people. And along with that, we would have student study abroad panels. So instead of hearing from the study abroad office about their programs, we would get people much like this who had very different experiences and just hear firsthand. And students could ask more candid questions. So it was good. We also scheduled trips to the UN. And as a requirement for the global business concentration, it was just a great foot in the door since many of the speakers are Fordham alum. And as you heard, the Fordham alum are just always so willing to lend a hand and help and kind of guide you through any process that they can. And on a more personal note, this club was really important to me because it gave me an opportunity to grow and demonstrate myself as a leader. I was on the board as early as my sophomore year, just as the social media coordinator, posting events on Instagram and hoping people would click on them. And then I started sending out emails as the secretary, and later for my senior year, I was the president. So it just gave me a really great opportunity to work together with a student board, to connect with potential speakers and just reaching out to people, and then working with administrators like Dean Fawzy. So it really helped grow me professionally and give me that leadership experience that a lot of jobs are looking for. And then again, it's just a great opportunity to connect across campus, since a lot of liberal arts majors will do a minor in global business. So you really are able to connect with anyone in the school. And along with IBA, we help out a lot with the International Business Week. So this week, as Dean Fawzy mentioned, is super exciting. We decorate the entire lobby of Hughes Hall with all the flags of all the countries. We help with the setup of that. We run different social events. In the past, we've done tables of different countries where people who have actually traveled to that country will come and speak, or if they have a personal connection, they'll put together a little slideshow. And it's just an opportunity where if you're on your way to class or you're leaving a class, you can stop by and network with other students and just learn a little bit of new information, make new friends. And as much as being remote is definitely not ideal, this has kind of given International Business Week a new edge because we can have speakers literally from anywhere in the world just Zoom in and be our keynote speakers. So last spring, our keynote was the president of a construction company in Monaco, which is amazing, and we don't always get that opportunity. So these were just some of my more memorable experiences at Fordham that had me stay for my master's, and they've definitely shaped my worldview to be more open and kind of looking at different perspectives, which as someone who wants to work in the music industry is very crucial for me to kind of unite people through music and hit those different markets. So I'm very lucky to have this experience that not many others can say. And with that, I'm going to pass it off to Grant to hear about his experience.
Thanks, Michaela. Hi, my name is Grant. I am a senior at Fordham University, Rose Hill. I'm majoring in finance with a secondary concentration in global business. As Michaela just mentioned about IBA, I was a member of that organization all throughout my 4 years here at Fordham. It was really great. I really enjoyed all the speakers they bring in. It's a really diverse group, and you get to meet and kind of network with a lot of really interesting people. IBA is a program you can be in your entire 4 years, but there are other global business focused programs at Fordham that you can participate in depending on what year you're in. During my sophomore year, I was a member of ILCGB, which stands for Integrated Learning Community Global Business. And that is a specific floor in a dormitory during your sophomore year, where you live amongst a cohort of other students who have kind of a global business mindset. And within that, you also have weekly meetings and speakers that come in. So you have speakers that come in for IBA, and then if you're in this program, there's a separate set of speakers. So ILCGB is primarily New York professionals that have a global business background that come in to speak. And it is also a 1-credit course. So there isn't necessarily an academic workload. However, you do get to have the experience with different speakers and different experiences, as well as kind of meeting students around you that have that global business mindset. So a lot of people I met there are people I know who went abroad to different locations around the world. And I went abroad as well. My junior year, I chose to go to Germany. My original plan was to study abroad in Hong Kong. However, that was canceled due to safety concerns about the protests currently going on there. So my study abroad program in Hong Kong, I had everything set up. I had my course list in my apartment, and so it was canceled quite last minute. But luckily, the study abroad department at Fordham helps me out, and I was able to switch at a really short notice to the program in Germany. So the study abroad department is very helpful, and they're very adaptable. So especially with the coronavirus pandemic, they're very helpful. Once I was in Germany, unfortunately, I had to be brought home early, so that program was also canceled. So I was in Germany for about 2.5 months, and then the pandemic hit, and the study abroad program brought us home. They were also very helpful with that, made sure all the students got home safe, and we were also able to continue our coursework in an appropriate manner. So I finished off my classes in Germany when I was home in California, although that meant there was about an 11-hour time difference, which was a little difficult, but I was able to get it done. So I went to a program that's not a Fordham University program. As we mentioned earlier with London, the courses you take there transfer directly over to Fordham. If you go to a non-Fordham program, it's a little bit different. So the courses you take, you'll have to get pre-approved by your dean. So in my case, I met with Dean Fawzy, and I had my courses I was going to take in Germany. And I looked at the courses that Fordham offers, and I see how they transition over. And then I get that approved. And it's pretty much as simple as that. So as long as the school you want to go to has courses that'll fit into your major requirements, you're pretty much set to go. The school I went to in Germany is called WHU Otto Beisheim School of Management. So this school is mainly a business school. So if you are a normal Rose Hill student in FCRH, you won't necessarily be able to go to WHU in Germany, as the majority of the course offerings are business. However, in my case, as a finance major, it was perfect for me. So I was able to take classes that fulfill my general requirements as well as my specific finance major requirements. And having global business as a secondary concentration means that you do have to study abroad or do some sort of global program. So it fulfilled that as well. Being in Germany was really amazing. I was in a small town, so it's kind of nice to mix it up compared to being in a big city like New York, to have that experience almost in the German countryside. However, the school is very good. All the classes are taught in English. The majority of abroad programs, you can find courses taught in English. My school is entirely in English, so it's very helpful for me. However, I do speak some German, so I was able to also have that exposure and improve my German and meet German students. All the classes are fully integrated. So every class you take will be a mix of German students as well as some abroad students. The group of students who went there who studied abroad there was a very diverse group. There's one other student from Fordham. However, there were students I met from New Zealand, from Argentina, from various states across the US, as well as other countries within Europe itself. So it was a really cool group. The professors were amazing. It's a very high-ranked program in Germany, and it's also in a great position to travel around. I was able to go to Switzerland, Budapest, and as well as visit some of my friends who are studying abroad in London at the Fordham program. So I really enjoyed it. And if you are a business major, I'd really highly recommend you try to study abroad at WHU. They were very helpful in my late transition, as I mentioned earlier, and it was really great course offerings. Some of the courses they offer there aren't available at Fordham, such as a business wargaming course, which I took, and we actually went to visit a local knife manufacturer in Germany. So we went to see their factory, and we had a small consulting project for them on how to improve the efficiency of the processes. And I also took a very interesting negotiations class where we kind of learned different negotiation skills, especially on a global setting. So it was really interesting in learning how Americans negotiate as well as how other countries negotiate and how the differences are there and what you can do to kind of adapt to that. As I mentioned earlier, my original plan was to go to Hong Kong. That is another program that offers primarily English classes. And they also have business and liberal arts courses available. So it's a little more broad, their offerings. The majority of schools abroad, I would say, do offer on-campus housing, or the university will provide housing for students. So it's definitely a case-by-case basis. But from what I've seen, if you contact the university you want to study abroad with, they'll help you find housing, which is a big relief because finding housing in a foreign market can be quite difficult. So it's nice to have the opportunity. And study abroad is a really great opportunity as a whole. I think traveling is very important, and I definitely think it can help with the job search. Having a study abroad experience on your resume of any sort, whether it's an entire semester or a shorter length program, can be very helpful, especially if you want to go into a field that is global business. And if you don't feel like studying abroad, fortunately, Fordham does have plenty of global business programs on our home campus at Lincoln Center and Rose Hill. So there are a wide variety of options that we can do. And as I mentioned earlier, I do speak some German, and that was helpful in being abroad. However, knowing the local language is not a requirement. A lot of students I studied abroad with at my program didn't know any German when they arrived, and they did pick some up along the way, but they were able to travel around and everything was accessible to them, especially in Europe. Pretty much everything is also in English wherever you'll go. So it was a really great experience. I'd highly recommend studying abroad, and there are plenty of options whether you're in business or in FCRH doing a liberal arts degree. Just to finish up, the study abroad department is very helpful in approving classes, and there's really so many people to talk to if you have any issues. They're always there to help you out. So now I'll transfer over to Fiona. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. My name is Fiona, and I'm a senior in Gabelli Lincoln Center, majoring in global business and concentrating in digital media and technology. I am also minoring in film and television. So throughout my time at Fordham, I was lucky enough to have the opportunity to study abroad 3 different times, one summer session in Copenhagen, a full semester in London with the sophomore cohort program, and also a global immersion class in Tokyo. I'm going to go over the differences in the courses and the application processes and the 3 different session types I experienced. So starting off, the application process for Copenhagen was relatively simple. Going through our study abroad office, I just had to fill out a few basic forms. And since Fordham was partner programs with DIS Copenhagen, they handled all the logistics and made the experience really seamless. The school, once the school processed my forms, the partner program contacted me to fill out forms regarding housing preferences and the courses that we wanted to take. For the DIS Copenhagen program, there are a variety of science and marketing classes with traveling study tour options for some of the longer courses. So the program had mainly American students from different universities in the US, and the students came together in Copenhagen to learn. And I think this was a great transition into the study abroad experience because I got to have the comforts of other Americans while also being able to explore and experience a different culture and environment. I went the summer after my freshman year, so I believe that's like the earliest you can go. The cost of the program is determined by the partner program, and since it was a summer session, unfortunately, there was no financial aid. However, the cost that you paid to the program covered housing and academics and some additional spending money for your housing group to explore the city. But we had to cover our own meals when we got there. In regards to housing, I chose to live with other American students in the housing provided, but there were homestays with local families. The housing that I got was like a large house with many floors, so it was kind of like a dormitory style, and they had a resident advisor from Copenhagen University, so it was one of the locals to help guide us if we needed to. And while I was there, I took a course called Meaning of Style, which was a fashion communications course. And although the students were all American, the teachers were actually professionals from Copenhagen. And at the time, I was planning to minor in fashion, but ultimately I switched to film and television. However, the course that I took still counted towards one of my electives, and I think that the variety of courses offered allowed me to try out the different industries I was interested in. And even though I ended up straying away from that direction, I learned a lot about the history of fashion styles and communication through fashion, which I think is still applicable in the world of entertainment and television, which is what I'm trying to work in. Then moving on to my time in London, I went during my sophomore year when we had the cohort systems in Gabelli. The application process is also relatively simple since you are going through the school. So all your financial aid transfers over and the school takes care of getting the visa for you. It's actually recommended by the school to go abroad during your sophomore junior year just because you'll have the cohort systems or the internship program. And I found that it was really structured in helping you form bonds with the other students since you would be taking all your classes with them, and also you guys would be having matching schedules. So if you were to choose to travel, you would be able to do that over the weekends. When I was there, I chose to do random housing, which was all right. But if you do have other friends who are going, I do recommend that you choose to live with them, especially if they're in the same cohort as you, just so it would make commuting easier. The housing options were scattered around London, and I lived in the Sutherland buildings, and it was about a 30-minute commute by the tube, which was not too bad. Some of the housing options were walking distance, but I noticed that a lot of the students didn't end up getting the monthly tube travel passes, which made them not really want to explore London that much. So I feel like if you were to go abroad there, you should have the option of studying a bit further from campus, so you would travel more in between classes. The curriculum was the business core, and aside from the courses itself, Our professors also took us on field trips to learn about the city, the history, and we also visited global companies and had tours of the companies. The teachers were very experienced and very well traveled, and European teaching styles were definitely different. So it was nice to hear from professionals who have the experience and also have connections while working abroad. It was a really educational program, and the courses transfer over no problem since it is Fordham's own campus. Then, with my time in Tokyo, the Tokyo Immersion class was a totally different process since it was a course offered by the school. The course I took was called Marketing in the City of Tokyo, and Dean Fawzy was actually one of the chaperones of the trip. So if you have any additional questions, you can always feel free to reach out to either one of us. Since this course was part of the school, we actually took half the courses in person in the Lincoln Center campus and the rest of the course hours in Tokyo itself. The application process started even before we started registering for classes, so the school emailed certain majors in Gabelli about the opportunity. It is a marketing course, so I believe that marketing students are prioritized, and we just fill out a form and an application, and then we get screened based on our majors, our GPAs, and we also add the class to our normal class registrations when it comes to that time. So the Tokyo Immersion class was only for Gabelli students, but it was nice in that it allowed us to connect with students from both campuses, both Lincoln Center and Rose Hill. And the course allowed us to explore Tokyo as a city and view it in a new way, observing the traditions and the culture. And we also had an authentic housing experience as opposed to like a normal hotel. And this really allowed us to explore the city and get a feel of the traditions and not like super touristy way in our short term there. The course was designed to give us a chance to really see Tokyo through the lens of locals, but the timing of the course allowed us to stay a bit longer before the new semester started, if so desired. And overall, the 3 different programs were really different, not just in terms of the length, but also in their application process and the course types. My time abroad really inspired me to take my career abroad, and like some of my peers, my experiences were definitely a talking point when it came to interviews and helped me form bonds with others who study abroad as well. I'm so thankful that Fordham had so many options to be abroad and had such structured programs and partner schools. And likewise, my times abroad were some of the best experiences of my life. So we are now going to move on to the Q&A section. So if anyone has any other questions, feel free to ask.
Thank you, Fiona, and thank you everyone for all of your amazing stories. I had the opportunity to study abroad when I was a student at Fordham, and hearing all of your great experiences is, it's given me the travel bug, so I can't wait until we can get back there and start to travel safely again. I did just also want to mention we've received quite a few questions about summer programs. Keep an eye on your email. There should be an email going out in the beginning of February about our next virtual chat, which will focus specifically on summer programs. So if you have specific questions about different options there or timing and applications, that is coming very soon. So we hope to see you at that one as well. We had some questions come in during the session today. I think we were able to answer most of them, but if you have, we just got one. This is a question about applying for a whole year of study abroad. If you're planning on staying in the same place for a year, is it one application or one per semester? Maybe I'll turn it to Elizabeth to answer that question.
Sure. Yeah. So if you're planning to do a full academic year in one program, one location, it would be one application. And when you open it, just make sure you selected the academic year rather than, a fall application or spring application.
Great. Another question, do we have a program in the Netherlands? I guess we can also expand this to say, we heard about a couple of different Fordham programs today, as well as non-Fordham programs. So if we could just hear a little bit more about those.
Sure. Yes, we do have a number of programs. We heard about one with DIS in Copenhagen. So we have our Fordham Run programs, and then we have a number of exchange programs. Exchange programs are when you enroll directly with a university in a different country. That's actually what I did when I studied abroad. I was a Fordham student, graduated a few years ago, and I enrolled directly in a university in Australia. And then we also have partner programs. Those are typically through another study abroad provider or another university. So if you go to our website and look at our programs, you will see that we have partnerships with Boston University, Syracuse University, and then some providers such as DIS, CIE, IES, etc. Those are all study abroad providers that we partner with.
And the specific answer to Netherlands, yes, in Amsterdam. But then again, I saw a couple of questions and I hope we answered them. So the idea of which program, which student picks needs really to have a lot of planning ahead of time, because it depends on the major of the student, which major are you picking, which combination of major and concentrations, which courses are offered that would be a good fit. So that's why it's very important that we keep the ongoing dialogue between us and the students to make sure that the courses make sense and they're on track for graduation.
Thank you, Hannah. One more question just came in. In those exchange programs that you were talking about, Elizabeth, is student financial aid structure similar to that of Fordham, or are there different, like, can your Fordham financial aid package be brought over to an exchange program?
Sure. For exchange programs, yes, your financial aid is fully portable with the exception of Metro grants, room-specific aid, and work study. And then additionally, for exchange programs, you are still paying Fordham University tuition. So if you're participating in any of our exchange programs, your bill will look very similar to what you would be paying if you were remaining in New York for the semester. One of the main differences with the exchange programs is that you will be responsible typically to find your own housing and to pay that independently.
Great, thank you, Elizabeth. Maureen asks a little bit more about the procedure for applying to some of these programs. She says, is the procedure to first meet with the dean and then apply?
Sure, I think that's a process that happens at the same time, but we'd be happy to answer because we collaborate with the study abroad office all the time. We just want to make sure that even during freshman year, and we have class deans as well, that we know the goals and what the measure is. This is very important because we can work with our students to utilize the best fit for them academically and also the study abroad experience. So basically we're focused on academics within our school and some other special programs like the global immersions, and ISAP helps us a lot with the logistics of the housing and the application and everything, but it circles back to me because I review all the applications of Gabelli. And just to point out one thing, we welcome also students from Fordham College. We collaborate with them. We have some professors who like to do the global immersion, and many of the Fordham College students end up minoring in business. So we are welcoming everybody and including everybody as well.
That's great, Hannah. Thank you for covering that. We'll take the last question and then wrap things up. Lita asks, if you have a residence in one of the countries where study abroad is offered, will room and board still be charged to a student?
I can answer that question and just say that it really depends. For our Fordham Run programs, you are expected to live in the Fordham housing. So if you had a relative or someone you would like to live with in London, you would need to go through an approval process with the study abroad office. If you are looking at doing an exchange program, your housing is arranged independently. So when I studied in Australia, I organized my own housing and had a lease with an apartment complex in Australia. So that's more of an independent process. And then for partner programs, it really depends. Typically, partner programs have their own housing. So you may be expected to live in a dorm through Syracuse or Boston University, for example. But for any questions like that, you can always just inquire with the study abroad office and we'll get you an answer. for your specific program.
Thanks, Elizabeth. And just to piggyback off of that, I will be sending contact information for both Dean Fawzy and Elizabeth Collins. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out about anything we talked today or anything that maybe we didn't cover. I want to thank our amazing panel. You guys were really just amazing to hear and to listen to all of your awesome experiences. And I want to thank you all for joining us today as well. Like I said, keep an eye out for a follow-up email with the recording and resources and materials. And until then, please be well, stay safe, and I hope to see you and meet some of you on campus very soon. Thanks, everyone.